Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hunter Mozingo bringing you your daily market insight video for Monday, October 25th. I'm happy to be back. It is about 7 or 8 minutes after market close here in Jacksonville, Florida, 4:08 p.m. Eastern time to be exact. And in today's video, we're going to talk about some indices hitting new all-time highs and whether or not that means they're too extended or just how extended they are currently. Additionally, I've got two really interesting sectors that I want to show you guys with some interesting stocks in those sectors as well. So before we get into all that good stuff, let's talk about what just happened. QQQ and the G5 index lead all major indices green. You can see the G5 up nearly 1.5% right there. A lot of that due to ARKK having a great day due to one stock we're going to look at here in just a moment. The S&P up about 0.5%, Q's up a little over 1%, Dow slightly green up about 0.5%, mid caps up about half, and the Russell 2000 up slightly under 1%. So the market state remains in an uptrend. That has not changed. I know there were some changes to the trend gauge while I was gone, particularly to the medium term trend gauge there, or the trend, and that being changed from neutral to up on 1019. You can see we're now bullish on all four time frames here, or all three time frames, and on market leaders, should I say. So you got all three bullish, or all four bullish here, acting very well. The moving averages are starting to assimilate in the correct order on some of these indices where they have not been for the last week or two. So we're going to look at that here in a second as well. But before we get into the charts, as I always do, please allow me to talk about Revere for a quick second. This is me in the middle. If you have any questions, any comments about anything I cover in this video, please send me an email, hunter@revereasset.com. If you're interested in what Revere's strategy is, what we do as a business, you can email me, or you can email any of these people, Dan, Tim, Merrill, Alex, or Don@revereasset.com as well. So let's start with the S&P. And you can see here, we are hitting new highs. So getting through this area kind of a little bit yesterday, or on Friday, excuse me, although we pulled back. But today, some nice action to get through Friday's high, 454.67, and stayed above it, closed above it. So new highs for the S&P. You can see we are getting a little bit extended from the 21 and the 50, but nothing absurd here. Only about 2.5% above both of those. The 21 now hooking up through the 50. That's the green line through the orange line there. Not necessarily anything to really be freaking out about. You can see the S&P during these rallies has stayed anywhere from 3 to 5% or more above the 50. We're now about 2.5 or so above it, as well as the 21. On the Qs, we are a little less extended here. As you can see, similar action, although we're not at new all-time highs, we are pushing through recent highs, as you can see here, getting above this high from last Thursday, and also about 2 to 2.5% above the 21 and the 50. The 21 has not yet hooked through the 50, although that should be coming soon if this trend continues here on QQQ, but acting well, as you can see, although it's not at all-time highs, still acting well. Another area that is not at all-time highs, but similar to the Qs acting well, IWM. So both really only about 1% or so from hitting those new highs, but same story. You can see the 21 is now above these moving averages, the 200 and the 50. They had been really flat in this period here. So IWM starting to move out. This is the Russell, not at new all-time highs, but about 2% above the 21, 3% above the 50. And something to keep in mind here on small caps and on mid caps, even the Dow particularly, these have been a laggard throughout the year, so their moving averages are very flat. So any sharp move upwards is going to cause them to get extended a little more quickly than you might see with the Qs and the S&P. So with that being said, let's take a look at the mid caps here, and you can see they are at new all-time highs, just following up nicely today, up another 0.5% like we said. The 21 has hooked up through the 50 here, moving averages in the correct order like you would want them to be. Nothing, you can't ask for anything more here out of mid caps. And then lastly, the Dow also getting to some new highs. So just barely poking its head. I know it was the laggard today, but same story, 21 crossing through the 50, at getting back in that order you want to see the moving averages in, right? The 21 above the 50 above the 100, excuse me, and then the 100 above the 200. So some positive action for the indices. Now let's talk about individual stocks. And we had some big moves today, particularly one stock having a massive move. So Tesla having a absolutely monster day. You can see up roughly 13%. You can see the volume now over $1,000, blowing through this 900 pivot here on Tesla. Yes, this is a holding in Grotection. There was an announcement this morning or news that Hertz was going to be buying a lot of vehicles, I believe 100,000. Which really kind of changes the landscape for the rental car market here in America. So a huge, huge move from Tesla, which is, as you can see, a huge, huge company, and now hitting the $1 trillion threshold in market cap today. So massive move for Tesla. We also had a firm really starting to move out a little bit this morning, ended up finishing kind of poorly, but still up 3%, obviously much stronger than the market. This is one we actually added a little bit to today. This is a true market leader, as you can see with the move it's made over the last couple of months here, but continuing to make new highs, as you can see today, although it closed right at this 160 level, got all the way up to 166 roughly. So more good action from a firm. Upstart, another name we added just a small amount to today, acting well after coming down and basically testing the 21 after a huge move, really from just under 300 to all the way up to 400 in a short period of time. Another name that acts like a true market leader, getting back above the 8-day exponential moving average after 1 day of coming down and testing the 21. That's the type of response you'd like to see and you want to see from those strong, strong stocks. AMBA, another name we do own in Grotection, actually one of our biggest positions, and continuing to respect the 8-day moving average, as you can see, up about 4% today. Also running up into this 180 level, was above it for a small amount of time today. NVIDIA is the other semiconductor name that we do own in Grotection, and similar story here, going up and moving out to these new highs above this 230.43, above Friday's high. So good action from NVIDIA, good action from AMBA. Additionally, we had SI, a position we've recently added that is a cryptocurrency bank, a bank that helped develop the Silvergate Exchange, or owns the Silvergate Exchange, which is an exchange network for cryptocurrency. Also kind of similar to what we saw with the firm, not a firm, Upstart. Although it took a few days, got back above the 21, now getting back above the 8. That's the type of action you want to see from a leading stock there. Another name, Lending Club, kind of in a similar world with Upstart. Not necessarily made the same kind of move, but you can see this has been a very strong move over the last 2 weeks or so, 2.5 weeks for Lending Club, and also respecting that 8-day moving average. And a couple of areas that have been beaten up and forgotten about and have not performed very well, having big days today. So this is a steel ETF. You can see it's up 3.5%, but some of the steel names are really the story today. STLD up 6%. You can see that's a huge move to get back above all those moving averages. Nucor, I believe, also up about 7%. Yep, getting back above that moving average, that 50. Excuse me, there's another name. CLF, Cleveland Cliffs. Same thing, a big gap following earnings with another gap up 7% with more above average volume today. So some changing character going on certainly in these steel stocks. As you can see, there's a big move, and I've been talking about this FCX. This one continues to act well as well. You can see this is moving nicely. It kind of pulled back to the 8 here and then bounced today, along with all the other metals and mining stocks showing strength today, particularly that steel group showing some big time strength. Another sector that people have forgotten about a little bit too, it's been coming back to life. You see the volume right here on TAN. This is the solar ETF, staying above the 200-day for the first time in quite some time. Last time it was above it was back in June/beginning of July. Now trying to stay above it and respect it for the second time this year. You can see, or since we got below it here, but a changing character in the sense that it's getting back above. The moving averages are starting to flow in the right direction. You want to see this 21 get through that 200-day. That'd be a great sign for solar, in my opinion. And one of the top stocks I've mentioned a few times here in this group is Enphase, acting very well, just sitting on the 8-day right now. And it may not give you a chance to come back to the 21 or any of these moving averages. It's made a very strong move from 143 right here up to 190. Now taking a little bit of a breather, but looking very, very good. And then lastly, this sector, I believe, is very interesting as well. This is the lithium sector, kind of a new age commodity per se with electric vehicles and whatnot. You can see this breakout or continuation here of a breakout on the LIT. This is the lithium index, but you've got two names that are very interesting in here. Lithium Americas Corp, which seems to be acting like a leader. You can see up 7% today. You can see all the volume here on this big move out from the 20s area, or even below that, the 15 to 20 range, to where we're almost at 30 now. And then other name in here is LTHM, if I can type that correctly. There we go. Livent Corporation, also at a decent spot here after trying to break out. It actually kind of did. It's just been consolidating since. Haven't really seen that big continuation and follow through. So two names in the lithium area. LIT is the ETF. Now let's talk about a couple of laggard names today. And CrowdStrike was a laggard today, while the actual cyber ETF, as you can see here, this is a cybersecurity ETF, was actually green. CrowdStrike was down. So a laggard today. This is one we added a small little bit to today on this action, the touch of the 8-day. But once again, you look at some of these candles here, very strong action to get up here. Certainly normal to take a little bit of a breather. So we added a little bit to Crowd. Another name we added to, just a small amount today, in Grotection. Added a small little piece to Bros. When it was down earlier this morning, it came back and was actually up 2 or 3%, ended up finishing down about 2.5%. This is a very volatile stock, which is why we kept our position sizing small, but we did add a small piece to that one this morning. A couple of other names, big names that were laggards today, and some that are a little bit of continuation from last week per se, but more so Amazon. But Microsoft down about 1/3%. Obviously, the S&P was up 0.5%, the Q's up 1%, so a laggard day for Microsoft, also a laggard day for Google, just slightly down, but not acting like the indices were, and then another name here, Amazon, the three big names lagging today, dragging on the indices a little bit, unlike Tesla, who was boosting the indices, or particularly the S&P as well. So APP, this is AppLovin, one I talked about a few times. Also a little bit of a laggard today, but bouncing off this pivot, basically this 90 area, as you can see, if you look across the screen there, and getting back above the 8, that's really ideal behavior from a stock that's made a move such as this. And keep in mind, on a lot of these names that I'm covering, many of these are going to have earnings that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. So just be mindful of that. I know I see APP is 16 days. I've seen some other names I've covered that are even closer. So do keep that in mind. SE, this is an ad company, which was hit with some of the news from last week, lagging again today, down 2%, but did get back above the 21. And then lastly, ITA, Aerospace and Defense, which is a slow mover by nature, but once again, lagging the overall market today, just not really showing the strength that it had been a little bit over the course of the past week and a half or two prior. So Aerospace and Defense, it is slow moving area, but dragging a little bit today. So that is going to wrap up the video today, everybody. I hope it was valuable. I hope it was useful. If you have any questions, please do send me an email, hunter@revereasset.com. If not, I will see you on Thursday's video and see you on the podcast this weekend. So have a great week, everyone.